Ah, rabble rouse, rabble rouse. All right, all right, all right. Jesus. You know, I should have expected there'd be contention amongst the topic of half Saiyans and their tails. And don't worry, those of you who questioned when I said half Saiyans always have tails in the video, you are valid. Though I will say that, like the Frieza clarification, while a lot of you said half Saiyan tails were a recessive trait, you didn't specify your source or logic, so remember to do that if you ever think I got something wrong. However, just like in the Frieza video, I know where the information comes from. So let's dive into the topic on whether or not half Saiyans always have tails or not. So the contention, of course, comes from the fact we see Gohan with a tail when he is first introduced as a 4-year-old, or technically 4.5, but we do not see a tail on Baby Trunks, nor do we see it on Kid Trunks or Kid Goten. This, of course, has caused no small amount of confusion, and let's cut to the chase real quick and be honest with ourselves. Akira Toriyama forgot to give them tails. There is a 99.99% certainty that is the case. It's how Toriyama is, and then we're left to consider how and why in universe. Now, in my Half Saiyan video, I said that Half Saiyans do get tails like their Saiyan parent. And of course, this led to no small number of people commenting that Half Saiyans don't always get tails because it is a recessive genetic trait. This statement stems from a 2003 interview for Shonen Jump, where a bunch of fans asked Akira Toriyama different questions on different topics of his work. In one of those questions, someone asked him why Goten and Trunks did not have tails, and he says, and I quote, "It seems that tails are a recessive genetic trait." Okay, so let's put a stake in the ground with that, shall we? Man, I really wish I could get the interview in full Japanese and get my good pal Dave to translate it exactly. However, I can't, and we'll just have to work with this. Anyway, if any of you know anything about genetics, you know that is impossible. Recessive traits only appear if there are no dominant traits masking them, which means one of two things. Either Toriyama is wrong, or Chi-Chi herself is part Saiyan. However, let's ignore that, shall we? Let's just ignore it. This is a fantastical setting, so what, right? But we also need to take into account that Toriyama says that it seems that tails are a recessive trait, which implies he himself does not know or that is a headcanon of his. Now, I am not Toriyama, but I can say, as someone who has authored various works, that I have mysteries in my work that I leave open, and that I have no answer to. Yet, I have quote-unquote headcanons about them. Even though I am the series creator, I have theories on a few things, but nothing concrete. And that is actually possible. People don't tend to think that, but that is entirely likely when it comes to a creator and their work. Although, this is an interview where he is supposed to provide answers, so let's ignore that as well. Okay, so let's ignore those two things. But something the people who brought up tails being a recessive trait did not mention is that in the very same interview, when asked why Vegeta's tail did not grow back again after he says it would, and this is when Vegeta has left Earth and is leaving the healing chamber, Toriyama states that when a Saiyan grows to a certain strength level, a tail just gets in the way and the body rejects them. So what do we know about half Saiyans? They grow far stronger, far faster when they're growing up than a normal Saiyan, which means that it is possible for them to simply have been too strong to grow tails. But then we need to wonder, are they really that strong at birth? And then we need to think, if Toriyama said they seemed to be a recessive genetic trait, but he sounded more sure on why Vegeta's tail did not grow back, then which one would we lean for? The one specifically for half Saiyans that he was not entirely certain on, and that also makes no scientific sense? Or the other one? Now, on my Half Saiyan video, I myself said it stands to reason that Chi-Chi and Bulma simply removed their tails at birth, because they knew it would be nothing but trouble. That is something a lot of fans have taken as what is likely true, considering both Toriyama's statements are troubling and contradictory. And as we know, Gohan did have a tail that even grew back, and neither Raditz nor Nappa nor Vegeta thought of that as weird or rare, and you'd think they might if it's a recessive trait. And while you could make the argument that they had simply never seen a half Saiyan before, we can't really assume that they had never even heard of the prospect, since there are at least a handful of human-like aliens around. And so really it's sort of a toss-up. In my humble opinion, I will say that if we were to turn the clocks back a few years, and I was back on the forums where I was debating Dragon Ball, or even if I was in one of those debate tournaments I would enter, if I were to be given this topic, knowing how Dragon Ball fans are, they would go hardline with Toriyama's recessive genetic trait quote, and I would have to adhere to that. However, as I have stated numerous times before, I do think matters tend to be more complicated than that, even if most of the fandom do take statements at face value only. So, at the end of the day, it is up to you on why Goten and Trunks were not shown with tails when introduced. I think it is much cleaner to simply say they were removed, and that they grow so strong so quickly, the tails never grew back, like Toriyama states in his second quote. However, if you were to go with the first quote on the tails being a recessive genetic trait, even if it doesn't really make sense, and even if Toriyama was just kind of bullshitting, I won't blame you. Alright everyone, hope that was informative and it made sense. I want to thank you if you like, comment, and subscribe, and please share this video and the Half Saiyan one. Thanks so much everyone. Oh yeah, and I got a Patreon below in the description if you feel like giving me some loose change. That would really help the channel. But if not, no biggies. Okay guys, see ya.